Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth-running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found the information on last week's topic, the 3 keys to an abundant business. Ask powerfully, give wholeheartedly, receive graciously, informative. If you're unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. If you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcast has been posted, please like and subscribe. If there are topics you'd find beneficial or questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Entrepreneurs and startups hire Kitti to help them to eliminate their physical and mental clutter so they can put more focus on making money in their business. With over 20 years of experience in helping people to get their surroundings under control, Kitti believes that physical clutter and lack of concentration are very closely related. So she has developed a step-by-step one system that has helped her clients to go from broke and overwhelmed to well off and clutter-free. So Kitti, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Candy. I appreciate this. This will be fun.
It will be. It's going to be another good topic to have a discussion around, and probably one that people don't necessarily correlate, clutter and just kind of all of the different things that can cause issues in the business. And I'm looking forward to that discussion. But before we get to the questions I have for you, I would like to hear a little bit more about yourself and how did you even get into doing what you're doing?
Oh, good heavens. Well, when you were talking about 20 years experience in getting surroundings under control, part of that, the early part of that was a house cleaning business in Western Canada. And what I would find myself doing was I would clean very well, but I felt compelled to just maybe move a couple of the things on their coffee table so it looked a little bit better, or I just felt like decluttering. And I am always amazed that every single person said, you know what, I like what you did here. I didn't even notice whatever the issue was. Now, if somebody did that in my home, I would probably go, what? You don't move any of my stuff. But right. I was lucky, and they managed to everybody liked it. And then I moved to Atlantic Canada, where I am right now, and I got into staging for real estate sales. And same deal, I would be partly cleaning, and I'd notice, this basement looks really, really bad, and just start to move a few boxes, and the realtor would come by and say, whoa, what'd you do here? And because I feel that you have to look at it through the buyer's eyes when they're looking, right? And it just, after I decided that I shouldn't be doing this kind of physical labor anymore, I turned to virtual decluttering, and it's evolved from there into organizing, into mental organizing, just an evolutionary process.
Interesting. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about even how you work with people, but it's kind of interesting that you can even do this virtually, like cleaning clutter when, a lot of people will think, oh, you have to be in the room with them going through the things and, helping them go through what they need to keep, maybe what they need to toss, maybe what they need to put in a different place. So I'm interested to hear your whole process. But I would love to talk about, because I do have my show really focused on the entrepreneur too. So it's not just personal things that are cluttered, we're talking about things that affect their business. So why does clutter even hurt a business and their bottom line?
For at least a couple of reasons. One, when you have clutter around, it disturbs your focus. It's distracting. Even if you are the most solid focused person in the world, it's still, your eyes kind of dart around, and you may be thinking, I really should get to that pile of papers, something like that. Boom, distraction in your concentration. When you're trying to work quietly, if you're with a client, then you don't, your eyes, I hope, are not darting around. But it's distracting and can affect your self-esteem if you start to think, oh, why didn't I do that last weekend? I meant to. And then you feel that slight negativity drag you down. It's almost imperceptible, but it really is there. And the second reason is your credibility. How is it when you come to a call with a client, or you come to you're originally meeting them, anything like that, and you're flustered, you're looking for papers, you're looking for your pencil, you'd say to the person, oh, I've been so busy that I just can't find anything. Well, I'm sure we've all been on calls with people like that, and I don't think it is, certainly I don't feel as confident in the person's ability to
Right.
serve me as I would if someone comes and says, hello, Mrs. Jones, how are you? Let's get started.
Mhm.
Right?
So,
So being organized and
mhm.
decluttered, being able to find anything is certainly in your favor. The third thing that comes to mind is your finances. If you have ever once forgotten to pay a bill because you didn't have it written down, because you had it on everything on scraps of paper, you don't ever want to do that again. The shame, the embarrassment, it carries over. It spills, I believe it spills over into your building. A lot of clutter it's mental. It spills over into, again, your self-esteem. So basically the idea is to be in control, is to
Right.
feel like you are in total control of your surroundings. And you are, and then you're more effective and productive.
Right. Well, while you were talking, I was thinking, well, what about the person who says, like, yes, I know it might look better if everything's kind of put in a place, but I know where everything is, like on my desk. So if you ask me for a paper, or if it's not even on the desk, maybe it's, on a table or something. But if you ask me for something, I can find it right away. So I know where it is. So it's still kind of organized. It just doesn't look like it. What would you say to that?
I say, God bless them.
Right.
Because you're absolutely right. There are some people like that, their chaos is their system.
Mhm.
And 90% of people, I would say, really. But there are some people that they really can find everything they want. But I would say the majority, well, here's another thing. If you are not working at home in the privacy of your home, if you're out in the corporate world, it reflects badly. People will still not think that you are as organized. They're looking at it and saying, ew. There's
Right.
just that negative feeling that, say, for example, your boss or your coworker has, and they may or may not be able to get around that feeling, and that could cost you a promotion. It could cost you any of those nice little perks that they have in corporate. It's apples and oranges, corporate and working at home, of course, but
Right.
yeah.
But it can make an impact for sure.
Yes, I believe.
So in the bio, I read that you have a system that you call your one system. So can you just tell us a little bit about what that really is?
Well, it is deceptively simple, and sprang up from my work with ADHD clients who have maybe a little bit more challenge in focusing on one thing. So we can kind of, we can kind of be all over the place. And what it is one room at a time, one area of that room at a time, and one thing at a time. Like I said, it's deceptively simple, kid.
Right.
But the thing, the reasoning behind it is it is so easy to start in one room and then, well, you know, I'm getting bored, or I really should do some work in the living room, when really you want to be concentrating on your office. For example, or your bedroom. And you just want to make a decision and stick with that one room until it is completed. This accomplishes two things. Number one, it's completed. Number two, you feel that sense of momentum and accomplishment that makes you feel good, releases the endorphins, and that transfers over into your clients and everyone that you work with, and the world is a better place.
Right.
Then we go with one area of that room at a time. And that's a little more difficult because you have a lot more distractions in that one room than you do through the entire house. But what you want to do is start in one area and finish, say, one corner of that room or your desk. Only make it a small area and just focus on that until it's done. Again, you gain momentum. The job is done. It's very, very easy to get distracted. Well, I'll start in that corner. Well, you know, I really should get the desk done, but you know, something in the closet I've been meaning to just go for lunch.
Right.
That's what happens there. And then one thing at a time. Here's the toughie, but it gets easier. One thing at a time. Is it tedious? Yes, it is. Is it time consuming? Absolutely. Is it totally worth it in the end and keeps you decluttered for life? Yes. Why? You're asking. Because with each piece of paper that you're going through, and I'll give you an example of this in a moment, you start to, yes, it's slow at the beginning, but boy, do you pick up speed as you're going through, and you're seeing, bank statements, bank statement, bank statement, bank statement. Why do I have these things? Or magazine that I haven't looked at in 18 months. Why did I even buy that? You find yourself rethinking everything that you've been saving, everything that you've been buying. And frankly, you never want to go through this process again. So you're basically retraining your brain to, I don't really need to keep this. I can keep my bank statements digitally. You start to find other solutions, or you're in the checkout line at the grocery store and you reach for that magazine and you pull back and say, you know, I really don't need it. I haven't read the last 5 that I bought. Right. So it helps you to avoid clutter in the future, which I think is the best gift of all, because once you've gone to all that trouble, do you really want to declutter? Do you really want to do it again?
No,
No.
you want to keep it organized, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Well, I have a thought. So when you're talking about, the one room and kind of like just focus on one area and the one thing. So let's just use an example of someone working from home, right? So they do have their desk area and, paperwork has kind of built up with some different things that they're doing. And if they're like most entrepreneurs, they're sitting at their desk, probably eating lunch while they're working. So they decide, okay, I'm going to declutter this area. So if they start with their desk and then they have, like, oh, my plate and my cup from lunch that I haven't taken, and you're saying one area, what do you say then? Do you just kind of leave that to the end and then you go in the kitchen? So then you don't take it to the kitchen and get distracted because, oh, I didn't do the dishes. I might as well do the dishes. Or like, what I'm saying is if there's something that needs to go somewhere else, what is the process so that they can still end up decluttering that whole area, but they're not getting distracted by going and putting things in different places?
That is an excellent point, and nobody's ever asked me that question before. That's really, really good. Um, my immediate gut reaction is to put it by the door.
Okay.
And that reminds me of a waiter's trick, which I can share, is you never walk empty-handed. There is always something that you can carry with you to the other room. But if you're needing to get your slightly used salad off the desk, then just absolutely just put it by the door. And you kind of have to, well, you could walk by it, but that's not really good. You have an excellent point that it keeps the flow of not going to the other room and deciding, because it takes a lot of focus and discipline once you've gotten into the kitchen or the other room to not start another task, especially when you're working from home, which has all of these distractions. Perhaps you have a spouse or a child or a dog that wants to go for a walk, and working from home is not as easy as you would think. So the fewer distractions you have, and one of those distractions would be going into the kitchen with that coffee cup, just leave it by the door. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And then, so kind of related to that might be even, okay, so we know we have work that we have to do, but we want to take a little bit of time to straighten things up, right? So if it's something that's just a minor project that, might take 15 or 20 minutes, I assume go ahead and just do the whole thing. But if it's something that is going to take a lot of time, like what is like the maximum amount of time that you would tell someone maybe to focus on doing some straightening for now before they stop because they're just either overwhelmed with the project or they need to get back to work and they're feeling pressured, like, I really need to do this, but work is calling. Like, what would you tell someone in terms of how much time to spend on cleaning things up before it's just getting to be too much?
A maximum of 50 minutes, 50 minutes. The reason I say that is because when I'm in a consultation with, where I have arrived at that is when I'm in an hour-long consultation with a client, I can set my watch by when I start to see their eyes glaze over and they're just starting to kind of go and do things by rote. So no more than 50 minutes. If you're trying to, I couldn't declutter in the middle of my workday. I couldn't do it. But if somebody can and they're bound and determined to do so, then no more than 15 minutes, because your brain has to shift back and forth and back and forth, and that's quite difficult. But I would say 15 minutes if you absolutely must do it during your workday. I think in a way, and it depends on how good you, how well you focus, but I often recommend doing an hour on the weekend when you can hyper focus on it and you're not kind of feeling called to work, because you're being pulled in two directions, and that causes mental clutter, which that can be even worse.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you next is like, so which really is worse, like the physical clutter around you or the mental clutter going on in your head?
Chicken and egg. Chicken and egg syndrome, totally. And I've been wrestling with that question for about a year now. And the answer that I've come up with, I think, is mental clutter. And people have agreed with me. A workshop that I did recently in my Facebook group, I asked them, which troubles you more, physical clutter or mental clutter? Every single 100% of 10 people said, oh, mental clutter. We can live with stuff strewn on the counter or on the floor. We can live with that. But mental clutter, when you're thinking about deadlines and basically all of the business things that you have to do, and maybe a couple of them are at a standstill because you're waiting for an answer for somebody else. So you're thinking, when are they going to get back to me? That's mental clutter. And I find that that is the most tiring thing. Give me a full day of hard physical labor versus an hour of mental clutter any day.
Okay. That's,
Right?
it's interesting that everyone 100% said the same thing,
Yes, it
So,
surprised me too. It really
mhm,
did.
mhm,
I was very surprised. I expected about 70-30 in
mhm.
that mental clutter would be more difficult. But the problem is that our brains are so busy anyway, and we have so much stimuli with the media, with everything going around us, that uh, clutter can build up much more quickly in this small enclosed space than it can
Okay.
in your 1,200 square foot apartment.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah,
So
that's why.
then what role does the overwhelm play in focus and clarity? Like, how does it affect it?
Oh yeah, that's the main reason why people come to me, is
Mm,
because they simply cannot. It's where do I start? Where do I
mhm.
start? They know that they know that they're not thinking as clearly as they could be, and they want to improve. That's why they want to declutter, is because they want to be able to focus more on their business or their relationships, and they know that this is getting in the way, but they plain and simple do not know where to start. Or they may have tried it before and it didn't stick, so they get overwhelmed with all of that. And again, it comes back to self-esteem of, yeah, oh, why am I even bothering? So where does the overwhelm come into play with the focus? It completely clouds it and makes it without somebody to kind of hold your hand a little bit, even if it's just a friend or family member, to say it's okay, you can
Right.
do this.
Right.
But frankly, a stack of paper. Oh, I mentioned an example I was going to tell you. Can I share that?
Sure. Mhm.
My very first client, she had a very large L-shaped desk. And it was not a word of a lie. It was 6 inches of paper materials covering the entire L-shaped desk. And she swore that she needed all of it. And yet she was overwhelmed. She knew it was taking over, but just didn't know what to do. After about 45 minutes, she was the opposite to what I talk about, the 50-minute. After 2 hours, she just started rolling after 45 minutes, saying, I can do this. After 2 hours, I had to say, we have to stop now. I'm getting tired. My point is that she got over her overwhelm, but it had been clouding her judgment. I'm hoping that I'm being clear here.
Right. Well, I get the point too. I think sometimes too, I mean, I would think people would feel a sense of accomplishment while they're going through and, clearing up things and making it more organized. And it sounds like that was the situation, that she was
Yeah.
feeling, is that, she was feeling accomplished as she was making things better. Right. But
Yeah.
I know on the other side, sometimes start to feel really discouraged too when they're going through this process. So why would someone, if they're making progress, actually feel discouraged as they're doing the decluttering?
Because you get your highs and lows. You feel that endorphin rush of how whoa, 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 I got all this done. And then you look around the room, oh, but there's so much left to do.
Mhm.
How am I going to get this? I can't. There's just too much. It's so much of a mountain. And again, that's when you need some sort of support, or just walk away from it for a few minutes. And that's why I recommend short bursts, because even I tackled my closet a couple of months ago, and this is what I do and what I help people with. And even I got tired after about an hour and a half, but I had pulled everything out of the closet. Never do that, Candy. Do it in parts. Pull out part of the closet. I
Right.
beg of you. And it's just the human condition. You cannot just spend all of that time doing one thing. Even if you love baking brownies, do you want to bake brownies all Sunday afternoon? No, you want to do it for an hour or two, and then, look at all my nice brownies. They're done. Good. Next project. And I'm out of the kitchen. I don't even want to look at the kitchen for an hour or two,
Right.
kind of thing. So to avoid being discouraged, just set parameters for yourself and don't try to get it all done at once, because it didn't accumulate
Right.
all at once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know too, earlier you were saying, once you're decluttered, you don't want to go through that again, having to declutter again. So, and we all could say, yes, we understand that's to be the case, but it might be difficult for somebody to be able to keep everything organized and not have to go through the process again. So how can you help somebody create like their system to stay organized so they don't have to go back and re-declutter over and over and over again?
Well, two words come immediately, and that is habits and discipline. And they're not easy, but they can be learned. Now, when you talk about systems to keep everything organized, some people function well with, for example, hanging file folders. Some people cannot, and they get overwhelmed looking at one. So every system, one size does not fit all. Some things will work for one person and not for the other. But once you find that system, then that's when the habits and the discipline come in. Putting things, and this is not rocket science. Putting things away after you're done with them. You can leave them until the end of the day, but if you put them away as you're done with them, you're partly ahead of the game. But here's a habit that I'd love to share with your audience. At the end of the day, take that 5 minutes and clear off everything that you have used, clients, papers, paper clips, anything that you have used, and so that, and it only takes 5 minutes. Once you are all cleaned and decluttered, it only takes 5 minutes. Gives you, I would estimate, at least half an hour of mental productivity the next morning to walk into, hey, this is nice. I can work here. I like this. I feel excited. I feel energized, rather than walking into yesterday's ghosts.
Right.
Of things that, well, I should have put away. Well, there's some negative talk happening right there. You don't want to start your day like that. You want to start your day, wow, I'm accomplished. Everything's under control. We're good to go. So habits, discipline are the key to maintaining any system that you have. I happen to love hanging folders, but I don't have room for them. So I rely on binders. See, everybody is different. Clear plastic drawers, clear plastic, everything in clear plastic, so you can see it. Makes a big difference for my clients.
Right. Well, it's like even for my clients, when I'm trying to educate them on how to save the paperwork in case, they're ever audited and they have to have everything. And it's like, yes, if you feel you need to have the paper, this is what you can do to store the paper, in your location. But if you want it digitally, this is what you can do to save everything digitally. And it makes it easy to find whatever works for you. We're happy to help educate you. So I think it's true, finding out whatever it is, it's really going to help you stay organized and just feel like you can manage everything.
Absolutely. Because again, it comes down to what's between the ears of feeling that that it's going to work and that you can maintain it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then how can your system that you created, this one system, be used to other advantages?
Oh, I love that. I use this quite a bit. When you have, you enter into your weekend and you've got a ton of things to do so that you can get set up for your week for the next week. Here's just an example. You have to narrow it down to, all right, I have a laundry list of housework to do. Well, I'm going to focus on one thing. Yeah, I know, but I have laundry, I have meals to cook, I've got shopping to do, I've got this. Okay, what are you going to do right now? Just one. Put everything out and put everything else, all the other distractions, put them out of the way. I can't even work in the kitchen and do laundry, by the way, because I'm thinking of when is the washer going to finish? Do I have to go over to the dryer well in the middle of making a homemade soup kind of thing? But that's for real. So I chunk everything. I chunk what I'm doing. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. So the one system will, if you just, it forces you to focus on one thing. Again, this takes discipline and practice because your brain naturally does want to jump out and jump all over the place and be a multitasker. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, then just remind yourself one thing at a time. And it comes down to that. And you could even, can we stick with the housework work analogy for a moment?
Go ahead.
All right. You may just want to scan the bedroom. That's one room. All right. Everything is reasonably neat and tidy. One area. Do I need to make the bed? One thing. I'll fluff the pillows. Okay, done. You're on your way. Or in your office during the week, unless you work 7 days a week, like most of us do.
Right. We're talking to entrepreneurs who probably work a lot. Right.
Thank you. Exactly. You're going to have those days where you're being interviewed or you're talking to people and you've got clients and all of these, and a couple of people want things submitted yesterday, and you want to make sure that, did I pay those bills? All right, you can only take it from the master here. You can only do one thing at a time, and it's kind of a calming technique, because you can't do your finances and be doing an interview at the same time, right?
Right.
Right. So you say to yourself, all right, for the next, 45 minutes ago, I am focusing on my interview with Candy. Nothing else matters. I'm turning off the phone. There are no distractions. The cat's sleeping. It's all good. And that is all that matters. When we are done, then I will focus on the next thing. And it's not, it can be, it is very calming, it will get you through the day. It really does. So that's what I mean by the one system being used in other areas of your life.
Right. So it sounds like just focusing, just on, again, like that one area or that one, specific task that needs to be done is really where you need to be focused to be successful in this process. But is there anything else that I may be overlooking that really is a key ingredient for being able to successfully declutter?
A strong why. By that, I mean, you can declutter for, because if you're in corporate, because your boss told you to. or your coworkers are nagging, or you're at home and your husband says, how can you work in this mess? Negative messages, right?
Mhm.
You need to want to be, not everyone who's in business has a mindset to be successful. Would you agree?
Of course.
That there are some people in business who are struggling, but they just haven't achieved that money mindset, and you specialize in this. So they may be kind of going half-hearted,
Mhm.
and if they finally make that decision, which I made 3 years ago in this particular office, I had moved in, and 6 months later, I just went, I can't work like this anymore. And that's when people come to me when it's
Right.
when it's hit disaster area, right?
Mhm.
You you make a decision, and your why has to be strong, where you say, no, I don't care what what it costs, what I have to do, what time commitment is involved. I am getting myself together. I'm getting everything in order so that I can serve my clients better, or we'll just stick with the business analogy, but this is what I want to do. And I believe that that is key. You have to have a strong why. Otherwise, you're just going through the motions and it's all going to come back.
Right.
Yeah. And you've wasted your time.
So I would love to hear how you feel that decluttering actually would affect a business's cash flow.
You have when you have fewer distractions, then you can focus better on your business and on the steps that it takes to get new clients and manage new clients, build your reputation, all of those steps, maintain your credibility with them, and the natural result is money. It has to be.
Mhm. Well, it's so important because I know we all know as entrepreneurs, we're working very hard to, get the word out there about who we are, have customers find us, and the ultimate goal, of course, is to be able to increase our revenue by providing amazing services to them. So I think, like I said, by being able to get rid of some of the distractions that we have, we're able to focus so we can grow our businesses. So that's a great benefit.
Mhm.
Mhm. So what's the number one tip that you would give to our listeners?
If you backslide, let's say that you've gotten completely decluttered, and it kind of creeps up, but it creeps up a lot. So that's what I call a backslide. Don't beat yourself up. Too many of us in society are way too hard on ourselves, and is so, wow, look at all this mess. I didn't keep it nice. I'm never going through that again. um, and why did I even bother? And I'm no good. I mean, some people can be very, very rough on themselves. Don't, don't, don't beat yourself up about it. You just get back on that horse and start to declutter again slowly. Put in you one thing at a time. Are you starting from scratch? Yes, you are. But you know what? This time you're going to do better. And if you backslide again, well, you're going to do it even better the third time.
Right.
But you will constantly, Tony Robbins, CANI, constant and never ending improvement. The motto of one of my Facebook group is progress over perfection.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
So
So it's like a muscle that you're developing, right? You can't expect to be completely successful maybe the very first time. You might, have this little bit of a struggle over time, but as you continue, you're going to get better.
that's right. Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, we're coming to the end of the time that we have for today. So I would love for you to share any offer that you have for our listeners.
Ooh, I have my 7 easy steps to conquer your physical and mental clutter, and it really is seven steps, and it comes with 7 short 3-minute videos, so you never feel alone in the process, because believe me, decluttering can be a lonely journey, but you don't have to go it alone.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And so how would they get that information and touch base with you if they want to connect?
The easiest way is to, download. You can download the guide at declutterthebrain.com. And there's also a link to book a call with me. And Kitti Andrews on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Perfect.
And YouTube.
Well, thank you so much, Kitti, for being a guest on my show and sharing your expertise on this topic. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun. Told you.
It has been good. And I do want to thank the listeners for tuning in as well. I hope you found this topic interesting and that it answered some questions about the easy steps from clutter to cash flow. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Kitti at any of the links that she had shared, or you could send us a message at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show information with those you know? I'd greatly appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for next week's topic, how to take the difficulty out of content creation. And please remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next Tuesday. Have a terrific week.